need to recruit people to do the work that we're asking them to do. And because people are depressed, like generally, Democrats are upset that health reform wasn't as strong as they wanted it to be. The job situation is still really bad. There's just, and so folks keep talking about this enthusiasm gap. That's our biggest problem right now, is that people aren't motivated in the same way as they were in '08. Sort of what I was saying is like, it's still really hard. It's hard like it was in the beginning days of the Obama campaign. Because the work we need people to do, the reason I got this out is I wanted to show you guys kind of the logic. Just ignore all the rest of this stuff on here. I want you guys just to see the logic of what we do as a campaign. So you have a, like say that, imagine there's a graph, okay? And every single person, those 3.5 million people that are registered voters in the state of Washington, we need to figure out who of those people are the most efficient for us to, or most effective for us to talk to. So the way we do that is we basically rank people and how likely they are to vote and how likely they are to support Patty Murray, okay? And so what we do is we give everyone a score of how likely they are, 0 to 100 on how likely they are to support Murray, 0 to 100 on how likely they are to actually vote. Because most people, not everybody who's registered actually votes, right? So what we do is you get a score then based on your previous vote history, based on who you typically vote for, those sorts of things, where you live. The end of that kind of whole process, we have 2 scores that you get. One is a turnout score, how likely you are to vote, and the other is a support score, how likely you are to support Patty Murray. So then because we have 2 scores, you can basically put it on an XY axis, just like you can like in math or whatever. And so if we were to say, there are kind of these 3 divisions. So if we said up here, on the y-axis, let's say that's your support level. So the higher up you are, the more of a supporter you are. So we'll say high-level supporters, medium-level, and low-level supporters. And then this way will be turnout, so how likely are to vote, and this will be likelihood to vote. And then again, same thing, high likelihood to vote, medium likelihood to vote, low likelihood to vote. And so every single person falls somewhere on this graph, right? So if you vote every year, you're always voting, and you're also always voting for Democrats, you're going to be up here. You're a high likelihood to be a supporter, and you're a high likelihood to vote. Does that make sense? Same deal here, low likelihood to vote down here. So what we can do is if I draw these lines out, we basically have 9 boxes, right? So there's 9 boxes, and we only care about 2 of them. The people up here are very likely to vote, and they're very likely to vote in our favor. So we aren't going to talk to them, because if we don't do anything, they're going to vote our way anyhow. The folks we care about is this group and this group. So X and X. These are people who have a very high likelihood of supporting our candidate. So they'll always vote for Democrats, say. Like they live in Capitol Hill, and they're like a young person, and we know they've voted for Democrats before. So they would have a high likelihood of supporting, but their turnout, the level at which they're likely to vote, is much lower. So the only thing we have, this is what's called our turnout group. And those are the folks we GOTV, which is Get Out and Vote, which is the name of that book. So we just have to get these folks to vote because they're already going to support Patty Murray. If we can just get them to vote, that's money in the bank for us, right? The other group is over here, and this is called our persuasion group. Persuasion. So these are folks who we know they're going to vote. They have a very high likelihood of voting, but they have a higher likelihood of supporting Patty Murray. So that's our persuasion group. And so we just basically talk to only those 2 groups of folks. Everyone else is, Republicans, people who aren't going to vote, people who are kind of in the middle in both places. Sometimes we'll capture little segments of the center population, but pretty much the rest of the time we're focused here. And what we do in this top region, high likelihood to vote, high likelihood to support, we recruit volunteers from that group. Yep.
How many people would you say are within those X's?
Within them?
Yeah.
Good question. I don't know if I could just say that off the top of my head.
Because like if 3.5 million for like the whole
The whole
graph,
thing.
then like approximate.
Approximately, I mean, it's pretty even, I would say, across the board. You could just divide that by 9. That's going to give you an approximation. That's my job. Is like I could get you the numbers on that, but I'd have to go use the database to do that. So. All right, next question.
Oh,
Yeah.
what do you think about generosity?
What do I think about Dino?
Yeah.
I don't think a whole lot about Dino, quite frankly. Honestly, I think Patty Murray is a fantastic candidate. I think she's done a great job. I think she'll continue to do a great job. As far as I know about Dino Rossi, he's run before, hasn't done well. People have already turned him down. You know, to me, he seems just sort of like, he doesn't seem like he's like me. He seems like he's a wealthy individual who, you know, I don't feel like I have a whole lot of in relation to him, honestly. But I've never met him or anything, I don't know. But I think Patty Murray does an exceptional job for both Washington State and for the country. And I know that Dino Rossi opposes a lot of things that I think our country absolutely needs to do. Like he opposed the Wall Street reform. So like our economy is in a bad spot because of the abuses of Wall Street. Dino Rossi said we should repeal the Wall Street reform bill that Barack Obama got signed. So to me that doesn't make any sense. And it only makes sense if you're already a wealthy person who is making money off of those bets that basically harmed the entire economy. So I don't think that's the person who should represent me, and I'm happy with Patty Murray. I think she's doing a great job.
What do you think is the most like successful way to like persuade for those two groups of people who you're kind of persuading? What's like the most successful way to get them to vote for Patty Murray?
Yeah, exactly. So those are the two things you guys are picking us up real quick. So the most effective way to do that, or the most successful way to do that, and our data shows this too, is to have meaningful conversations in person, preferably, at the doorstep or over the phone. And that is, I totally believe that is the most effective way to get people to either vote for our candidate or to turn out and vote if they're already supporting our candidate. And if you sort of just, and our data shows that, if we've gone back and we've looked at the data and we see how many people have voted based on other methods that we've tried, just sending out emails, sending out robo-dials, which is where you have just a recorded message, say, hey, time to vote, you know, versus actually having a volunteer who's from your same neighborhood calling you and saying, hey, my name is such and such, I live down the street from you, you know, this election, and then focusing on personally what's important to them, not like which policy or which party do you care about, but saying, I care about healthcare because what's going on in my life is that healthcare wasn't available to me before this bill passed. Patty Murray voted for it. Now I'm able to get healthcare, and I would really appreciate it if you would consider voting for Patty Murray in this election. Without a doubt, that is the most effective thing we have to get people to vote for Patty Murray or to actually turn out, is to have a personal, meaningful conversation, ideally from someone within that same neighborhood or same kind of region. And so my job is to coordinate all of that action. So like I said, we need to know who our targets are, who we're going to attempt those meaningful conversations with. But then we also have to actually make the whole thing happen too. So we have to get all these lists out to people, and we have to collect the data back on what they've said to us so that we can turn them out to vote if they do support our candidates. But to me, it's all about the person to person. And I believe that. And it's, like I said, it's also supported in our data, and that was how also we won the Obama campaign. Everybody thinks it's because we use, you know, Facebook and Twitter, and like that's like the whole popular thing out in there in the world right now is to be like, oh, campaigns, get your Twitter on, and it's like, you know, that's cool, but it's not as effective. It's not what we were doing in the Obama campaign. That's not why we won. We only used social media to the extent to which it would help us build our on-the-ground field operation. So if that was the measure to which we judged, that was the way we measured those things. So if we were getting people from Facebook to come in and volunteer so they could go out and talk to someone in person, then that was what was considered a success, not just Facebooking for its own sake. It was to try and get people, convert them into volunteers so that they could go out and actually speak to people in person. Because if you just if you're like tweeting to people who are already your friends, like it's not gonna make any difference. Like we need you to talk to people who are targets, and we need you to talk to them in a meaningful way. Yep, next question.
Well, it looks like the list of questions is gone, but I guess in your personal opinion, like, what do you think Patty Murray's chance of getting the winning is?
Winning the
Yeah,
re-election?
what do you think? How is it going? Do you think?
I think it's going very well.
Yeah.
I think it's going very well. There's no question it's a tough year, but I think we're going to win. And the reason I think we're going to win is because we have a good field operation, which is, we have a lot of field organizers who've been hired to go out and recruit volunteers. And they're recruiting volunteers. Those volunteers are going out and talking to their neighbors about Patty Murray. And we've been building those volunteer teams up for months now. And this whole election is about turnout. We're doing really well among these group of voters who are unlikely to vote. There are a lot more people in this group who are our supporters, who are likely to vote, than there are in the group of people who are, well, this is from our perspective, so it would make sense to show it that way. We have, among people who are unlikely to vote, like young people, like me, we are doing very well. Like, we still have extremely high rate of support among that group. The problem is they're not likely to vote. So, and we're basically dead even with people who are likely to vote, meaning like old people. And that's really, and that's super generalization, but like it actually holds that way. So our challenge is to just get those unlikely voters to actually turn in their ballot. And the only way, and the most effective way to do that is to actually go talk to those people. And so, yeah, it's close because among likely voters, like the election will happen tomorrow, like, yeah, I don't, I think it's right, very, very close. I still think we win, but like, I'm not, I don't feel like it's just gonna be a blowout. But if we do our job, if we go out and talk to these folks, we know they're supporting us at a higher rate. We just have to convince them to actually turn their ballot in. And if we do that, we're gonna win very, very easily. So I think our chances are extremely good, but I think it comes down to, it doesn't come down to what's going on Fox News or MSNBC. It doesn't come down to who has more advertisements out. I mean, do you guys even pay attention to those anymore? Like, I'd be shocked if you did, Like, how is that, why do people think that it's gonna make a difference? I don't get it. But meanwhile, when all that air war is going on, there are people out there actually on the ground going out knocking doors and making phone calls. And that's the side of things that is considered, the turnout operation, the ground game. And that's the side that goes unreported in the media and no one ever notices that it's happening. But that's how we won the Obama campaign in every single state that I worked in. And I think that's how we're going to win here as well. So, any more questions?